Hey guys, Joe Teague here with Alliance Small Engines. We're here converting our 2014 Exmark Laser Z zero turn. We've got a Kawasaki FX 801 on the back. We're going to do a step-by-step process, take it through start to finish on our complete system. Alright, and here you'll find your complete engineered propane conversion system. When you receive the package, open the box, compare it to your packing slip, make sure you have all the pieces listed. Included in the box should be the small engine propane conversion system installation manual. It'll have detailed step-by-step outline instructions, very similar to this video, how to successfully install this propane system. Included, you'll have your propane air mixer that will replace your gasoline carburetor. You've got an inline fuel filter with a replaceable filter element. You have your propane reducer, reducing your pressure into your engine, and also you'll have your electronic fuel safety shutoff switch, which controls the flow of your fuel. Here we have the air cleaner relocation bracket for the Kawasaki FX 801. This bracket is utilized only on the Exmark Laser Z zero turn application. This bracket relocates the air cleaner to position it out of the way of the propane tank, utilizing the roll bar tank mount bracket. You'll need a standard and metric set of sockets, flathead screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, wire strippers and crimping tool, needle nose pliers, 2 adjustable wrenches, and a hacksaw. For the first step of the conversion process, we'll want to locate and isolate the gasoline fuel shutoff, and we'll run the engine and remove any remaining fuel from the gasoline system. Now that the remaining fuel's been run out of the carburetor, we're going to go ahead and return the key to the off position and disconnect the battery. Okay. Now that the fuel's been removed from the system and the battery's been disconnected, the next step is going to be to locate the gasoline fuel pump. We want to disconnect both the inlet and outlet lines and cap off the pump to prevent any vacuum leaks to the engine once it's converted to propane. Now the next step is going to be to remove the air cleaner and the air cleaner assembly from the top of the engine. Now the next step, with the battery disconnected, we want to remove the fuel bowl solenoid connection. We're going to remove the PCV hose from the bottom of the intake, and we're going to loosen all 4 10mm carburetor bolt studs. Now that the carburetor studs have been loosened and removed, we can slide the carburetor forward and we'll disconnect our throttle linkage. You'll note that once the engine is converted to propane, the use of the choke is no longer needed. Now would be a good time to remove the choke and cable completely, all the way back to your throttle control on your gas. will come with all the necessary gaskets you'll need to replace in the event the gasket is not intact. Now you want to locate your propane carburetor, your 90-degree 3/8 by 1/2 inch hose bar brass fitting, and the approved thread sealant. You want to make sure to apply sufficient amount of thread sealant to the brass elbow before threading it into your propane carburetor. Okay, now it's time to install the propane carburetor. Slide it over the studs. Check your alignment of your 90-degree gas inlet brass elbow. Connect your throttle linkage back to your throttle plate. Now we want to install the supplied gasket that came in your kit. Now is also the time we'll want to install our low pressure LP fitting and hose that came with your kit. Tighten hose clamp appropriately. And now we can install the air intake back to the front of the carburetor. Now you can install the remaining carburetor bolt studs and nuts and tighten appropriately, and then we'll proceed to installing the air cleaner back to the engine. Now when reinstalling the air cleaner, keep in mind that for this specific application on the Exmark Laser Z, relocation of the air cleaner is required, and a separate bracket was shipped with your kit. Now you want to install the supplied air cleaner relocation bracket. Once the bracket's installed, you can then install the original air cleaner bracket that holds the air cleaner housing and finish installing your air cleaner assembly. Now we're going to prep for our roll bar tank mount plate. The first step we'll want to do is remove the lower portion of the roll bar bracket bolt on both sides. Now we want to prepare our tank rings for installation onto our roll bar backplate. We'll want to first install the tank toggles, and then followed by the tank lineup pin. Now that we have our tank rings assembled, we can go ahead and bolt them to the roll bar backplate with the hardware kit that was provided in your kit. With the rings mounted on the back plate, we can now install it to the roll bar, installing your lower roll bar pins first and tightening down the upper U-bolts provided in your kit. Now we're going to talk about the propane low pressure reducing regulator, its mounting configuration and installation process. First, you want to locate the propane gas inlet of the regulator and locate the propane low pressure gas outlet of the regulator.
Note on the outlet of the regulator, the kit includes an optional 90-degree elbow to reroute your fuel line to make your installation most accommodating. Note we have our inline propane filter with replaceable cartridge. In your kit, you have 3 options of inlet brass fittings: a 90-degree, a straight fitting, a 45-degree fitting. Also note, all threaded fittings need the appropriate amount of thread sealant applied before tightening. Now we have all of our fittings mounted securely and tightly. Note we've used the 90-degree elbow on the low pressure outlet side of the regulator for this particular installation. Also note on the back side of this regulator is our single point mounting stud, which will secure to the tank bracket. Now find the regulator mounting pin hole located on the back plate. Install your regulator into the hole. Securely fasten the nut on the back side. Now we're ready to route the low pressure line and connect to the regulator. Be mindful when routing the hose to avoid any contact with anything metal. In the event it's not possible to avoid the contact with metal, a protective spiral wrap has been provided in the kit and is recommended it be installed to prevent premature wear on the rubber hose. At this point, we're going to review the high pressure line and the reusable fittings that are sent with your system. This process is clearly explained in the installation manual. Once the removable high pressure fitting is securely fastened, now is a good time to install your protective spiral wrapping on your high pressure hose. It's a good idea to secure the end of the wrapping to prevent unraveling. We've reached the point in the conversion where it's time to mount the propane vapor cylinder on the back of the Exmark Laser Z. Note on the vapor cylinder there's a slot for the alignment pin. This is a very important part of the installation to orientate the cylinder in the safest manner possible. This alignment slot needs to match up with the alignment pin that is located on the bottom side of the tank ring. Now that the tank is mounted, note the safety connector located on the service valve. The safety connector is a left-handed thread connection. This is to avoid any confusion with a forklift tank that utilizes a right-handed thread fitting. We've determined our proper length on our high pressure fuel line. We've made our second connection with our reusable hose fitting, same as we previously did, and secured our spiral wrap. Now we'll want to connect both ends of the high pressure line, tightly securing each fitting. Now that we've got our high pressure hose connected to the left-handed safety connector of the service valve, we'll go ahead and turn the tank on and pressurize the fuel line. At this point, it's a good idea to check all of your manual connections with an approved gas leak detector to ensure you do not have any leaks. The final part of the installation includes the electronic fuel safety control device. There's 4 wire leads on this switch. The far right terminal, you'll notice 2 green wires. One wire is labeled equipment ground. It's critical that we find a good engine ground to apply this ring terminal. The other green wire attaches to the fuel solenoid. The next spade terminal on the switch is 12 volt. It's crucial to find a strong, consistent 12 volt supply. This is done through a barrel connector, typically utilized on the fuel bowl solenoid 12 volt supply. Our third terminal goes to the yellow wire on the other side of our fuel solenoid on our low pressure regulator. The fourth terminal is a split wire going to each spark plug of the engine, and outlined in our installation manual are very specific instructions on how these wires need to be applied. This is what your leads to your spark plugs should look like when installed properly. Our final step to making the electrical connection is reconnecting our 12 volt battery. The function of this switch is to control the fuel flow to the engine. You'll note in the bottom right corner a green LED. This LED indicates power supplying to the fuel solenoid. If engine RPM is not detected within 2.5 seconds, the power source is deactivated to the fuel solenoid, stopping flow of propane. We're ready for our initial startup procedure. To do this, locate the idle adjustment screw on the face of the low pressure regulator. You want to turn the screw clockwise until the screw bottoms out. Then back the screw out counterclockwise approximately 2 turns. This will be your initial starting set point. We're now ready to start our initial starting sequence. Optimal recommendation is starting about half throttle. Now that we've got our initial idle adjustment dialed in, we're running an optimal 1600 RPMs. We need to check our wide open throttle adjustment. Now that we have our wide open throttle adjustment made, we're going to test the engine through multiple phases of RPMs and also test it by engaging the PTO.
This concludes our Exmark Laser Z propane conversion. Hope everybody found it useful, helpful. If there's anything we can do, please feel free to contact us. We're here to help. And as always, stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.